Welcome to another podcast of Adeel Pirzada podcast. I'm your host, Adeel Pirzada, with another podcast about construction, real estate, entrepreneurship. Today we have a guest in our office, but before I introduce my guest, I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Kevin Padillo. How are you doing, Kevin?
Hey, doing fantastic. Thank you for joining, everyone. Glad to be here.
Right on. So today we got Amanda at our studio here, and thanks for coming down, Amanda.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. Actually, you made it here because our show is about entrepreneurship, about creating something, building a business, especially around real estate and construction. And your background happens to be there, so it's going to be a very exciting podcast and the questions that I have for you. Before I go deep into discussing the work you have around real estate and your real estate investment, tell us about a little bit about your background, where you kind of born and raised, and how you kind of started.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I was born in Saskatoon, but actually grew up in Edmonton.
Okay.
So I moved to Calgary in 2010 and love it. Much more than Edmonton. I bought my first rental property here in Calgary in 2013. But to go back to Edmonton, kind of what got me started in real estate investing, my dad had owned an apartment building. It was a 9-unit building, so that kind of got me into the investing side of things.
Oh, okay. And that was, where was that?
In Edmonton.
Okay, that was in Edmonton.
Yeah, downtown, close to actually where Rogers Arena is now.
Gotcha.
Mm.
So, what you have basically as a business, you don't have a full-time job, right?
I do actually.
Oh, you do have a full-time job?
I do, yeah. So I'm working over 40 hours a week. Right now I'm currently on mat leave though, so I'll be going back early next year.
So what exactly you do with your 9-to-5 job?
I manage a dental office.
Okay, okay. So you're working at a dental office, and then you have a side hustle basically as a real estate.
Exactly, yeah.
So you had a property for about, you started, your first purchase in 2010?
2013.
2013 was your first purchase?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was not with the idea behind that, you're going to keep doing this? Or was it just purchase it for yourself to live in? Or the rent was the, a day one?
So I knew I was interested in real estate investing. So I did house hack that property, but I didn't know where it would take me, if it would just be the one property and done, or if I would start to grow my portfolio. So I bought that house. There was no kitchen in the basement, so I put in the basement suite there, and I had tenants living in the basement for the 5 years that I owned the home. And then I also had a roommate with me upstairs, so I was able to cover all my expenses and then some.
Right. So it was a house.
It was a suite house.
Okay. So it's a single family home.
Single family home. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this is in 2013.
2013. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You got it.
In Edmonton.
No, in Calgary.
Okay, that was in Calgary.
That was in
2013, you bought your first property, single family home. Did you end up moving in that house?
Yeah. So I lived on the main floor with a roommate, and then I had tenants in the basement suite.
Gotcha. So that's how you kind of got the first feeling of being a landlord. And then, so when you bought that house, you're obviously working at that time as well?
Yeah, working full time. Yeah.
Working full time. And now that comes starting from 2013 with one house. How many properties do you own right now?
We own 4 properties, 3 rental properties, and then 4 units, I guess you could say.
Okay, so 4 units in total.
Yeah.
Right on. And I'm sure you have plans to do a lot more.
Yes, yeah, that's the plan.
So what is it about real estate or this investing that you liked and you kind of figured that that's what you should be doing?
So I've always been an employee, and I love the idea of having something that's my own and being able to control it and make all of the decisions. And then, of course, everyone wants financial freedom, but really just having that control. I do want to get away from the 9-to-5 at some point in time, but of course, there's limitations when you're trying to get mortgages on your own as well. So
right, and you have mortgages on all properties?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you manage the properties yourself?
I do, yeah. So I manage all of them myself. Right now, it's a little bit easier. When I am back to work, working 40 plus hours a week, and can be a little bit more challenging.
Right. So, just tell me this, right? So someone who's looking to do that, right? They have a full-time job, and they kind of want to do the same thing you're doing. What should be the first step that they should look into doing?
Education.
Okay.
Of course. You want to do a lot of research, especially before you're buying your first property. You want to have your ideal tenant in mind, because that's going to reflect what type of property you buy, what neighborhood of the city you want to purchase in. You need to learn how to run your numbers as well, and you need to really decide if you're going to manage the property yourself or if you're going to hire that out for property management. Those are kind of the main things that you'd want to look at first.
And sort of property type as well. Like, is it a single family home that you can afford, or a townhome, or a condo?
Yeah, exactly. So that's going back to thinking who your ideal tenant is. If you're really wanting to rent to families, then of course you're going to maybe want a single family home as opposed to a condo downtown.
Right. Okay. So, do you own all different types? Like, you have a single family home and a condo unit and a townhome as well?
Yeah, so we currently have suited bungalows, so single family, and then we also have a condo, and then a half duplex as well.
Okay, half duplex. In your preference, which one, so since you have started, and what you're dealing with so far, is there a better, you would choose one compared to the other?
That's a tough choice. I do like suited properties, usually for cash flow. They do cash flow a little bit better. However, right now, not so much. However, there comes a lot more management with tenants when you have a suited property because everyone's living a little bit closer quarters. So if you can just do a single family home, that would probably be my preference as long as it cash flows.
Yeah. Yeah, in my opinion too, single family is the best value. So, I mean, if you're thinking owning 2, 4, 10, 15 even, single family, especially right now, ever since there's been COVID, it's actually a really good return. Like, even if you couldn't keep the asset, you want to sell it, you would not lose money. And it's more in demand than ever, a single family. And now you can have 2 units on it. And what's actually a really good thing about single family is that down the road, you can, 10 years down the road, zoning will change. And you could either have some sort of development on your land into something else, or you could be a part of a big a row remodeling where they take a whole bunch of houses in a row and then they build something, they demolish that and build something out of it based on what's the zoning is available at that time. So it kind of creates a potential having a land, whereas you're in a condo or you're attached to someone, then you don't really have that freedom in a way that it's not only your say.
Right.
Right? So if you have an RC1 lot in Calgary, which is a single dwelling lot, and if zoning changes down the road and you own that lot, now you can build 2, 3, or 4, depending on what the zoning is. And then the land itself, it appreciates a lot more than your condo or townhome would.
For sure, yeah.
So that's a really good reason of owning a single family. But for a lot of people, single family is more of a management issue as compared to a condo. Or a townhome is reason because a condo also have a whole building has a management company, and they ended up taking care or at least intervene in a lot of the issues that come up, and they could be the first one on site. Where when you have a single family home, if you don't have a hired management company and you are the management company, then you're mostly first point of contact. Is that an issue for you? Have you noticed that you know what, a house is a bit more management work than a condo that you own?
Yeah, and it comes down to the age of the home as well. So a lot of the properties we own are 50s, 60s, so there is a lot more maintenance. Whereas the condo, like you had mentioned, it's a lot less. Gotcha. You've got the management company there taking care of a lot of things, and then exterior you don't need to worry about as well.
Right.
But just find yourself a good handyman, and then you're set.
Yeah. Okay. So you would accompany a handyman basically on the side when you're doing that. What's your plan in the future? What kind of properties are you thinking of buying now?
My partner and I really need to sit down and go back over our roadmap. It's been a wild few months since we've had our baby, but we do want to push a little bit more to newer homes. Having homes that are built in the 50s and 60s, the maintenance costs and repairs are quite high. So that's something we kind of want to steer away from going forward. Probably avoid condos and just more single family homes, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Back to someone starting from this. So, they need to educate themselves overall about real estate. They need to then, find out the area, the tenant class, the type of property, and also maybe what they can qualify for. What should be someone would be planning around in terms of the finances, the money part that's required? So given you have, what is the way? I know how to do it, but just for our viewers that someone's watching, looking at it for the first time or maybe the 10th time, just to do it that, you purchase a home. How do you purchase it? What kind of down payment do you put in? What kind of interest rates are you getting? And what kind of qualifications are required?
So you need at least 20% down for a rental property. However, with rates the way that they are right now, you might need to put down more in order for cash flow to be positive. Alternatively, if you do have some extra cash laying around, you could also just put that in a reserve fund to kind of cover your negative cash flow per month, kind of just depending on how you want to work that out. But you really need to run your numbers too and make sure that you have enough set aside for repairs and maintenance, and if you are going to do property management as well.
Right. Oh, okay. So the big thing is you should have 20% down payment. There is this, there's these different methods that are called that. In USA there is a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and over here we basically got the CMHC and GE, and then there is another one too. So getting those loan, does that help? Getting any CMHC loan? Can you get anything around rental properties? Have you looked into that?
Well, you would need to put the 20% down, so it wouldn't be.
Okay, so it'll be still 20% down.
Yeah, that's unless you're planning to house hack and you're going to live in the property, then you could put less than 20% down.
Okay, so for a lot of people, if they're doing the first time, maybe they should go the route that you did, which is a house hack. So you don't need all the 20% down payment.
Exactly.
You can first buy your house with a 5 or 10% down payment, depending on what you're buying. And then the next one would have to be the 20% down payment.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So this house hacking idea, that's where you live in it as well, and then you're also renting it out? Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. So you'll find if you talk to a lot of real estate investors, they all get started that way. Yeah, so you live in the house and then you rent out a portion of it, usually through a basement suite. Some people will live in the basement and rent out the upper floor, or vice versa, just depending what works better for them.
Interesting.
Yeah, you live in a part of the house and then you can rent out the other. And the good thing is with that, because you're buying it as your house, that your primary residence, so you can get away with paying a less of a down payment, having a less of equity in the home. And yeah, and then so you can get a mortgage, which is actually kind of covered under the National Housing Act, that you get a better interest rate as well because of that. But you have to pay insurance premium. So there is some insurance cost involved. But if you go with conventional mortgage, which is 20% down payment, right? And then, 25, and then with that, you don't have to pay that insurance premium, but there is no involvement of the insurance CMHC. So you're dealing directly with the bank at that time, and then banks usually have the similar rates too, that they can offer, but usually CMHC would have these kind of a little bit better offering for such a lower down payment, like as 5% or 7.5% to 10%. Those interest rates are really good as compared if you were to get it somewhere else. So that's the benefit. So that's how a lot of people would start, get a first house, live in half or part of it, rent out the other, and then start saving up money for your next house to purchase.
Right.
And then plan around 20% down payment so you're also comfortable. And then, especially given the interest rates are so high, and buy something that you can afford, the tenant that you can kind of deal with, and something that you're looking for, and then also look around the management aspect of it too, that way you're going to have to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on. Thinking about the way the market is right now, so it's booming, especially here. Still, prices are not coming down. There's nothing available now for rent, very little. Are you guys better aggressively thinking because given the market that you want to do it more, or do you have any fear that what if things doesn't work well in the economy and then your plan may change?
I think it's always a good time to buy real estate and invest. Of course, there's always going to be risks involved, but there's a lot of steps you can take to mitigate those risks. So we're still looking for deals. They're definitely out there. We are on a few wholesaling lists as well. So if you can't find anything on the MLS, it's a good way to find some off-market properties.
Oh, okay. So how do you get on the wholesale list?
Best way is networking. So go to real estate investor meetups. You can talk to even realtors as well, who might have some contacts of wholesalers that are local to you, and you can get on their email list. And then they'll just send you deals once they find them. You might also be getting even just flyers from wholesalers at your own home looking to pick up properties. So you can contact them and just ask to be put on their buyers list. Gotcha.
One of your properties you mentioned, it's you did the BRRRR, which is buy, renovate,
yeah, rent,
refinance,
repeat,
and repeat. I've seen different types of BRRRRs. Like there's the ones with like 6 R's in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what do you do after that. Which is basically the concept is that you purchase a property, you upgrade it from what you bought it from. So you're obviously buying some property that is not appreciated in value yet. It needs some work to be done, something to put in, an effort and money to be put in to bring up the higher value. And once you have that higher value, you go back to the bank and you refinance.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you rent it out.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you repeat that. Okay. So that's why there's too many R's.
Yeah.
So doing that now.
So you would refinance after the renovation.
Yes.
Yes.
And then rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it just because you're looking to increase the value when you renovate? Now you have more capital, more equity.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. We rented the property before we did the refinance. Okay. I think it really depends on the lender. Some will just take in market rent into consideration for the refinance, and others actually want to see a signed lease agreement with what you are getting for rent. Okay. So that'll just depend on the lender. Yeah.
I've done a lot of that personally in my real estate career. I bought many properties and then just, some, and this term wasn't even around sort of. I didn't even know I did that, but later obviously I found out, okay, yeah, that's what I was doing. It's risky in a way, especially, if you're kind of new to it, right? Because if you don't know. And I think the key ingredient is actually having that construction wing, that somebody who knows, and as a general contractor, as a handyman, depending on what kind of work it's, kind of working along your side, that can kind of give you an idea that what kind of looking in your timelines. Because when you buy something and you're renovating it, it could cost a lot of money, and then the time. And for all that time and the designing and any delays that happens, and if all the money that went towards that, it's a cost. That could increase the cost a lot, and then you may end up with very little at the end.
Right.
Yeah. So how did I want to know about your BRRRR that you did. And I know you you had a successful experience out of that.
Yeah,
So,
we sure did.
so I want you to actually share your numbers and how you did that. Maybe it will be helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, for sure. So this property came to us from a wholesaler. It was off market. We picked it up for $235. So that was including the wholesaling fee as well.
And is that a single family home?
It's a half duplex.
Half duplex,
Half
okay.
duplex, yeah. So it's a 4-bed, 2-bath in Ogden here in Calgary. Our renovation budget was $30,000. We ended up going a little bit over budget, so we ended up at about $37,000. Our holding costs were around $13,000. So that's financing, utilities, property taxes, etc. And then when we got our appraisal done, it came in at $415,000. And our total time frame was about 4 months for that project.
Oh, wow. That's really nice.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so a perfect BRRRR is when you take out all of your initial investment. So we were able to do that plus about an extra $42,000. So it was, it was really good. It's hard to get a perfect BRRRR right now.
Yeah.
But the deal that we made, the purchase price was just, it was really good. So that helped.
Yeah. BRRRRs are kind of risky. I think it's a great tool for someone to start, especially new in real estate. Like if I wouldn't do a BRRRR now, just knowing what I know about real estate, I think there is so many different ways to approach it, but it almost makes me want to do it. I just don't have time for it. I think I would be doing some anyway, just because it's so much fun at the same time. There's a lot of planning and thinking and, and you kind of converting a place to what you want. It requires a lot of time and energy. Like if you look at it, so if we're running your numbers, what you bought it for and what you sold. So you said with profit, you had $50,000 profit?
So we kept it as a rental property,
Right.
but we were able to get all of our initial investment out plus an extra about $42,000.
So you would have a lot more money. How long did that take?
About 4 months. The refinance took a little bit longer. That dragged on, but we had.
So like the whole process from
Yeah.
time you purchase the property to the time it's rented. How long is that time?
So possession date was April 17th, and we had tenants in there August 31st.
Okay. So so time is the
Cool.
main key. Yeah. So that's pretty good. So that is about 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
A period. And having that kind of money, it's a really good it's a really good return on your investment in that sense.
What would you say your profit was?
It would have been.
The increase in value, basically.
No, the profit. I mean, there's a couple ways you could look at it, but about 42,000. But then we also have the equity in the property as well.
So actual profit, your ROI is way more than 42,000 because if you were to sell it, then that's all your money.
Exactly.
But you're playing it smart.
Like 167,000.
Yeah.
Equity on top.
Well, there's other
Minus
expenses. Like, I mean, you got to list it, so you got to pay the realtor on both sides, and then there is, lawyer fees and land titles, which isn't much here in Alberta, but I mean, there's still a cost that is going to get added, and then obviously, then you got to pay property gain if you're selling it too. So if you refinance it, you just avoid the whole thing.
Yeah.
And now the best thing is that you can do the same thing 3, 4, 5 years later.
Exactly.
You would refinance, and that's why it's called BRRRR with the last R as a repeat. So you keep doing that until you just kill that property.
Yeah, or you take the money that you got out and then you buy another one and then just keep going along. Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah, so
interesting.
It's a real good way to kind of win in real estate. It's a full-time job itself for one person, I would say, because you're also looking for properties. But at the end, you do the math. It's a really good way of doing it. I actually have I've divided real estate in 6 different categories, like what you can do with it, right? And one of them is BRRRR. One of them is redevelopment. So we do a lot of that, like just demolish the whole thing and rebuild something on it. and one of them renovating it, like, and then one of them is adding something to it. So like having a backyard suite. So there's these different things, and there's so much variety that's available in real estate that you can do, and BRRRR is actually one of really good successful method of doing that and attaining that value. So good on you for doing that. Now your plan is, and I guess you're constantly looking for properties. How many properties do you have to kind of go through in order to find the one you want?
Oh, it's so hard to say. We're always looking. Right now it's a little bit harder, but like I had mentioned, if you're on a wholesaler list, there's still a lot of deals out there. And then once they come to us, we'll decide what we want to do with them. If we want to flip them or BRRRR them, it will just really depend.
Yeah. So you just completed this BRRRR this year?
Yeah.
In 2023. Now you would be looking for the next one.
Yeah, much. We are going to take a little bit of a break until the new year, and then we'll start looking again.
Nice. How was your experience having a baby in your belly and doing this? Like, how was it for you and your husband and your partner?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was very stressful. So like I was telling you earlier, I gave birth on the 3rd, and then we took possession of our property on the 17th. So we had a couple of weeks there where my partner was home, and then he was doing all the renovations pretty much himself. So he used his pat leave to spend his time over at the property renovating, and I was at home.
Sweet.
So it was interesting times. It was very stressful. I wouldn't ever do it again, but we definitely don't regret it. The results were amazing, and we learned a lot throughout the process, and I was at home sourcing materials and stuff while baby was sleeping on me, and there was things that I could do.
Some RFQs. Looking at drawings.
Yeah. That's what actually it involves. It involves a lot of back and forth and going and checking and getting stuff last minute that is not there. So there's a quite a work that goes, and then there is a lot of risk that goes to, because you have the lending, all that, you have the mortgage on it, and now you have to do the whole thing again. You have to refinance again, which is quite a headache, and dealing with the lawyers and all that stuff. It's it has its price in a way, but it has the benefit. Now what it at the end, it gives you a piece of property, a real property, right, that you have in your possession, sort of, and then you can have it available for other people to enjoy it. So good on that. You got 4 rental properties. One of them is a BRRRR. You have a plan to do more BRRRRs, so you can create more wealth for yourself. So I wish you best of luck on that. Around your rental, have you thought about Airbnb, or if you have or have not, why not?
I have, actually. So I was ready to pull the trigger and turn my bonus property into an Airbnb right when this BRRRR project came across our table. So we had to make a decision, were we going to do the BRRRR or turn my bonus property into an Airbnb. We decided to go with the BRRRR, which was a great decision. With Airbnb, there's a lot of involvement and management in the beginning, especially, and now after knowing what it's like having a newborn, there's no way that I would have been able to handle that, I don't think. Yeah, 100%.
Airbnb is more work, but there is a lot of help available, and then there is a lot of software and things you can do, but it's still going to require your time. And
heavy on the management side.
Right.
There's
tenants.
Long-term tenants, I think, are the best way. Like Airbnb to me is very seasonal. Like, I'm sure it works, but just to say, hey, I'll buy a property anywhere and I'll just do Airbnb is not a right thinking. What you should be looking at every single property as a long-term. That should be your first pick. If the numbers work, go for it. And then you can do things on it. Just try it out. Have fun. If you have the ability to do that, maybe do a short term, maybe do Airbnb, and you'll see. But your numbers should be worked on based on the long term lease. And that's the only way. I mean, real lenders would look at it too, especially if it's a bit bigger project that it has to be a long-term lease, not anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Because market change, time change, and then those things will change. Unless you're in a very high demand area in terms of like a lot of tourism and visitors. Unless you got a house in Japan.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
Yeah.
I've looked into it actually. I had this idea in my head. I brought it up to Adeel, and Adeel teaches me a lot about real estate. And I'm like, hey, like I asked, hey, what if I do Airbnb arbitrage, right? Where I'm not the landlord, and I ask a landlord if I could use it. And Adeel, ripped the whole idea to shreds, and he just says like, hey, what if the landlord kicks you out, and all of a sudden your revenue is gone?
Mm-hmm.
So I've looked at it, I've studied it, I've looked at all these YouTube videos, and I've heard that it's not for every city. Not every location is good for Airbnb.
Here's my
It's not always
theory.
good.
My theory is that everything works. It just requires time. Anything will work. As if it works for other people, will work for you. But if you think I'll just do this and I'm gonna be like millions of dollars, no. It's not. It's going to require time. Yes, some efforts will pay a bit higher than the other, but it has maybe other risk involved. You made 100K on your investment, but you are also taking a lot of risks that you may have done, let's say, Amazon drop shopping, drop shipping, right?
Yeah.
Because the risks are different. You're putting down payment. You got a loan attached to yourself. You have to make the mortgage payment. Plus, you took on a construction that is also maybe your liquid money that you spent on, and then the time is going to take. So there is a lot of things attached. So the bigger the risk, more reward it could be, but it still requires a lot of time. And if you do anything else, it requires time. So if get good at one thing, that real good, that requires time. Other thing is really good as well, but that requires time as well. So which one you're going to give time? So give time to the best that you can have your best success, basically. Right?
So many questions for you, Amanda. What are your thoughts on infills developments and
I don't know much about
building
infills
from
at all.
ground up?
No, I would like to learn more about new development. That would probably be down the road for us in a couple years or so. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
You can
Adeel
educate
loves
me
this.
on that.
Like,
Yeah.
we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Duplex, fourplex.
Yeah.
We're building a fourplex along the Green Line, just like similar to Ogden,
Okay, yeah.
and that's under planning stages. So I know we're big fans of infill developments.
Yeah, my attention actually, like that's what I would say. I wouldn't do a burr because the intention is towards, that is the next thing to do. So when you do enough of those, you're like, we may as well build something from scratch, right? And again, I'm a big proponent of new property. So I like your ideology behind, okay, if I'm going to buy as a rental and this is a long term, I want to do certain things, and I may as well buy new, right? Because the new have a lot less problems.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at property. So we have a lot of investors and clients that kind of work along the side. What we do for them and what we build is, why not build new? Because you're going to have a lot less headaches and issues, especially given Canadian market where we are. We need a lot of housing here.
Yeah.
There is not enough in the shape of old. There isn't even old enough homes. I mean, very little. So you need a lot of new inventory to come in, and builders can't really keep up with it. So individual people like us kind of need to jump in and help the market bringing that new inventory. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to get you out to my property in Bowness and see what you think then for new development.
Yeah, for sure. We have looked at many properties and just kind of taken the best outcome, basically to squeeze the juice out of it in a way that you get the best possible. We sort of have a client that actually a question that came to us that, I just kind of helped them to kind of made a decision about, is that they got a piece of land and they're thinking, should they build a 2-story or a 3-story? So, and I said I'll look into it for them, and I looked at the plans and I kind of construction side of things, and then also understanding the real estate and the market side of things. And my conclusion was that you should build a 3-story. Why would you not utilize that piece of land that is there in size forever, the same, and what you can build, it also is there for forever. So it's not like you only have it for a year. So you have it for quite some time for the life of that property. Why would you not build it and reap for the advantage in terms of more rental? And turns out it's a good rental that they can get behind it, just having the 3rd story. So why not spend that money, and then, you know, half your cost, or I have some math behind it that what really costs for condos per unit as compared to a house and a duplex and a fourplex. Given the math behind, you know, a piece of land, what you can build, I mean, you know, your good 30, 40, 50%, your cost is your land. So if you can build more on it, then you're saving that cost, basically, on that piece of land. So that's my theory behind it, that you should build. If you should build on a piece of land as much as possible, given the circumstances that are available. Yes, there is a such thing overbuilding, but that does not really apply to the properties that we're discussing. You should, if you can go 3-story and bring that extra room, do it. It's needed. It's more cost effective. It's cost beneficial. You're not paying for the land again. You're just paying for the construction. And the real construction cost isn't even going up. Adding another floor is just the walls, the floor, and whatever goes beneath that. But you still have the ceiling. You still have the foundation. So it doesn't even make a huge difference on that end. So yeah, we should look at your land and see what we can do with the best with it. Okay. Kevin, do you have any last questions, comments?
I do, actually. Yeah. Amanda, as I personally learn about real estate, I would like to know your biggest mistakes. If you could share
3 big mistakes
that you've learned during your journey so far.
I would say starting out as a new landlord, not knowing the Residential Tenancy Act.
Okay.
That was number 1. I don't even know if I knew that it existed at the time, because a lot of your costs are going to be due to vacancies and tenant issues, not screening tenants properly. Biggest mistakes, I would say probably not networking. You learn so much through networking and meeting other people, and so many more opportunities come abroad from that. What else? Probably 3rd mistake, not thinking of my tenant profile in mind before I purchased my property, and not really crunching the numbers in fine detail before I purchased it. I would say that was probably another mistake that I made.
Yeah, right on. It's actually all mostly around rental, which you have to be careful about. If you're building that rental property, you got to think about for the people that it's built for, is bought for. And if you don't have enough knowledge and understanding on that, it could be a big issue.
For sure.
Right on. Okay, Amanda, I think we're coming close to the end. Is there anything that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, so I'm actually, while I'm on mat leave, I've been working on creating a course for new and inexperienced landlords. So I'm working on that right now. I'm hoping to have it released, the first portion of it in January sometime.
Oh, right on.
So I do give away a lot of free tips for landlords on my Instagram page, and then you can kind of watch out for that course when I release it in January.
Okay, right on. Yeah, we will. We'll put some description. Is there any way people can get in touch with you, or? Yeah,
so right now, best way is through Instagram. That's where I'm posting all of my landlord tips. So my handle is amanda.m.pope.
Okay, all right. So we'll reference that into our description for the video, and when you release that course, do let us know.
For sure.
You know, it sounds very interesting, so we'll definitely share that with our viewers as well. We're actually, you know, have plans, some sort of that ourselves. We promote a lot of people doing what you're doing, which is creating wealth, but just also solving the solution, the problem that we have, which is not enough homes, and then having the prices of homes too much. It's not affordable. And the big reason is not affordable because we're not building enough. If we have enough kind of materials, I mean, the force going behind it will make things cheaper. And if we have the enough builds going, and maybe there is innovative ways that we can do, how we do things is not the best way also right now in construction. So if we can change that, then we can have more productivity. And that can create more housing, solve more of a problem that we're facing right now. So I would definitely recommend your course and channel to our viewers and the people watch around. And
Amanda has some good stuff. She's on IG, and she posted content every day on landlord tips, how to renovate your home, how to find the right tenants. So great select. Yeah, check her out. I'll put her down in the description for her Instagram link for you to follow.
Yeah, right on. And I hope you guys had fun watching this. And if you have any comments or questions, do let us know. And do subscribe our channel, hit the like button. It will help other people to watch us, to follow us, and be benefited from more podcasts like this. And have more guests on our podcast like Amanda. Any last words, Kevin?
Yeah, I should have done this earlier. I kind of messed up the process, but there you go,
our first blooper.
Yeah, normally I bring this in the front, but this podcast is hosted by the Pircon group. Our team does commercial and multifamily construction. Our team is ready to help you develop and build your next space, whether it's an interior or ground up development. We're happy to help you from the planning stages up to the construction. If you're interested in learning more, visit pircongroup.com and you could apply for a quote there. Happy to discuss, and info will be down in the description.
All right. Okay. Well, have a good one, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Amanda, again for being at our office.
Thank you so much.
And we'll have you maybe in your future again.
Yeah, for sure. Love to.
Thank you. Bye-bye.